then the critique page, then the counterplan, then the property tag CA, starter size CA.
All right, I just want to make sure. Framework, critique, counterplan, tax, legitimacy, racism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Impact things times to those answer conditionality may exceed the lifetime strip side by think arguments have persuasive and just see that the straight twos are inevitable because one is are inevitable because other teams are just reading more time counting arguments no win situation for the athlete and the one is using them and that's coach means there's no impact to execute and we need a firm conditionality is only I'm sorry the time pressure is good because force coach in the choice now the make arguments on the critique debate first they can see the counterpoint solve the vast majority of the arguments but they can delineate the difference between it's all about solving for rights and counterpoint do that anyway they say that they solve for Dylan but they can see the util debate on lines up in the 2AC which means that you do the default just very calculus of who solves better for rights and avoids the most distance at the counterpoint debate. The counterpoint solves the vast majority of their cases solved almost the entirety of the one AC. It's just a question of whether or not we solve enough of their add-ons or enough of their add-ons are outweighed by our dissent. And when the debate our Matthews evidence our Jenkins evidence says implementing START will necessarily lead to bridging the gap and lead to an international fight against racism, which solves the vast majority of the wars. This is why the court will necessarily have the line behind the first term. They extend this add-on the business predictability parts. This argument is solved by the status quo evidence from 2002 says that the court spending rights are good for the Honda to solve this because it was a check back over the Bush administration. They don't say the protecting people on rights and racism necessarily key just so you see not predictability turn right healy and says the plan cards business context overall increase uncertainty and feature by judicial citizens are subsumes their offense even the court decides the wrong way. It's better they decide the same way each time investors more likely to take risks. They feel they can predict the actions of the court in the future. Initially, the court's prerogative overall more important than the existence in their doctrine. Their only evidence proves the court can make essentially obsolete rulings that actually overruling precedent. Additionally, our no link evidence our maker evidence talks about how our maker evidence talks about how come that other countries that will pick up the global economy evidence from 2005. Our evidence says even if there's a collapse in the dollar, the other countries will pick us back up now. It's in the permutation debate. They say that it's shielded from the link. They have no piece of evidence on this question, and they still overrule the milk decision when the link debate on the starting size dissent. They link to the other dissent because our Rosenberg evidence says that having the court's access leads a fly paper which brings movements into the court in order to force a decision, whereas the counterplan alone is the only option. They will go to the office of budgetary support in order to force the plan, which means they are the only scenario for an increase in property tax in order to enforce the judgment. Now we can see the 2AC argument that legitimacy is key to protect rights. They say their card is bad, but you shouldn't read bad cards that we will impact her. It doesn't matter. That's the claim between so there's at least a risk the counterplan solves the case better than the cause. Sorry, as I said, I'm sorry, the property tax is out there. The vast majority of their arguments are relevant. They make an argument about how uniqueness should have been triggered because of the housing market. It's a linear dissent, though. The more the plan increases the cost for the people that are actually affected by separation, like the poor people, then the more they actually start our Pew evidence says that food insecurity is the root of a lot of their harms because at least a sense of low self-worth and low self-esteem. People cannot focus on actually achieving in schools and things like that if they don't have food to put in their mouths. The next argument they say that they solve because they solve for urban sprawl. That's all very long-term impact. Can't solve their argument anyway, and people have to starve in the short term. That's our Pew evidence now. They make an argument, they say that poverty. They say there's lots of food in the U.S., but it's a question of how the poor people cannot access that food because that food costs too much. That's our market evidence and our joint center for housing. Studies evidence. We have a low threshold. Our white and Banga evidence says that this has our white and Banga. Our joint center for human studies evidence says that it wouldn't have to increase by very much, but just increase by $10 necessarily wouldn't necessarily give you a huge trade-off. And we have evidence that says that food shortages disproportionately affect black people, which is an example of how their institutional racism cannot be solved unless we will work through the counterpoint now. And then they extend this argument to the counterpoint solves the Jenkins argument. They concede our Trumansky evidence talks about how milk and oil is just one justification for the Jenkins decision, which means that they wouldn't necessarily get off the books. They also concede that our evidence on the starting sites to dissent proves that Roberts actually uses starting sites in order to distinguish cases, so they wouldn't get rid of the other Jenkins. They would distinguish from milk and one and just overruling what they also concede our writer evidence the impact of this argument they read in the 1AR said their author concludes their asked, but that's all because there are too many constraints like funding and things like that now. They extend their protection argument, but the campus solves the impact of this argument because their evidence just says school choice leads to resegregation arguments that if there was resegregation, the Congress just passed another law that would actually fix that argument. Their evidence is just not good on the impact question. Now, sorry to say, look, we have a huge magnitude argument in our dynamics of class of democracy, global democracy, would actually lead to a multiple scenarios for global nuclear war that result in extinction. They just the time frame arguments are faster, even if it is a slow impact. This modeling is much faster than solving for all of racism or the root of racism, and then the line of that, just a return the case is going to destroy the legitimacy of the court. We read that we're seeing their evidence, and we read evidence in the case. We talk about how the court legitimacy. That's our four evidences to enforce civil rights agrees on the first argument. Sandals bill of evidence says that we read a lot of people's evidence. Our Washington Times evidence says that Roberts is will actually be looking at because these pledge themselves starting ISIS and any overrule in this term would be key, which means we don't have to win this bill over argument that's our Washington Times evidence in the Brown argument that Brown will be overruled. That isn't soon on Brown will be overruled in this term by Roberts argument says that this terms that we need to keep just we in ourselves evidence and Ambrose evidence says that the court would use a special justification in order to overrule the Brown in order to get rid of the Brown decision, which would uphold the legitimacy of the plan does not have this justification argument. Then you should not allow that argument until we are because it would let's give this you are kind of like to a term allocation and prep. They make this argument and the next argument they say that they're it's in other things, so they're marching evidence by other nations not modeling us. Our evidence, their evidence gives some examples of other nations that are not modeling us. Our Center of Justice Accountability, Larkin's evidence actually cites other nations that actually model their judiciaries on the independence of our judiciary. Our Monahan evidence says that consistently apply law initially in order to perceive that the justices are not too political or not too political. They say their evidence is not qualified as much qualified than their marching evidence who's a U.S. hack. Think of the U.S. hack now. They say there's rollback. Now their evidence just talks about how there's rollback of democracy promotion now in modeling of our U.S. democracy. They say it's democracy and status quo that there's still a big risk of this because there's a huge
internal link.
And the rule of law is the only internal link. That's where Monty Evans talked about consistently applying the law. Now solves the big one. It's in our backlash on our forward, the court's attempt to evaluate local segregated communities leads to a race war integrating without solving underlying tension will parallel local government's cause over racial tension. Even if this argument does link to the counterplay approved by arguments about how a court action, not necessarily because the court will actually lead to overt action and that will destroy all legitimacy of the government. Now, Senate arguments in the case of our bill evidence. This is the argument that was conceded in the one-yard bill. It says that the individual base of racism will be resacked. In order to solve their impact, they would have to solve for getting rid of racism in all sectors of society because that's the only way that nuclear war would happen. Our evidence says that unless they equalize the entire playing field, then that racism will just seep back into the back door. Our housing our property tax as an example of this, and where they callously treat it proves our argument.
534.